What's good, guys? Welcome back to the UCC channel. I am of course Checkmate, coach of the Twickenham and Passimian, and I am again your host for today's battle and battle review of my Season 10 Week 3 match and team builder against Flo, coach of the Alcoholic Alomomola. So going over my team, which you can see on screen, it remains as my Tier 1 Mega of Mega Altaria, my Tier 1 of Magiana, my Tier 2s of Celebi, Mamoswine, Mandibuzz, my Tier 3s of Minior, Cobalion and Tentacruel, my Tier 4s of Arizion, Moltres, Ambipom, with my Tier 5s of Miltank. My opponent's team this week consists of his Tier 2 Mega Heracross, his Tier 1s of Jirachi, Blaziken with Speed Boost and Hooper Unbound, Gliscor is his Tier 2, his Tier 3s of Snorlax, Tangrowth and Alola Ninetales, his Tier 4 of Alomomola, and his Tier 5s of Wobbuffet, Gorbis and Talonflame. So looking at the generic overview of this match, you can see that my team kind of struggles to break his defensive mons of Alomomola and Gliscor, not taking a lot of coverage for them. And I'm potentially weak to a late game Blaziken sweep, but I think that's, especially if it's something like a Z with potentially Rocky MZ, being something that could try and break my Mandibuzz, or it could have Poison Jab and Acid Downpour to try and break my Mega Altaria potentially. So there's a lot of options which he could take to get a fairly reasonable late game sweep. So yeah, there's a few things which my team is potentially weak to, but overall my matchup seems to look very reasonable. Looking at Flo's team particularly, he is incredibly weak to Moltres and Mandibuzz, and even Minior as well. And particularly Moltres has a really good matchup, having no flying resistance aside from Jirachi, which is of course weak to that Fire Stab. Mandibuzz, it's going to be a difficult one for him to break, seeing as there's a good matchup against the Hooper and the Heracross, which are both his primary wall breakers. And then Minior, if it sets up a Shell Smash, has a really good field day against his team if his Alamomola's either low or gone. So yeah, Flo's team, he does have a remarkably good wall breaking core, especially potential for it, with arguably the best late game sweeper in Blaziken, which also has the ability to baton pass speed and stats into one of his grateful recipients like Mega Heracross or that Hooper Unbound, which really don't need the extra stats. So working around this is going to be my challenge for this week, which is going to give me an opportunity to play around with different, potentially unconventional sets to see if I can do that. So my first port of call is to look at a way of reliably checking or ideally countering his offensive threats. So I've started off with Mega Altaria. Now, physically defensive Mega Altaria this week, it's pretty much compulsion, being that I don't really have another really great switch into Mega Heracross. It's almost a counter, as it were, because Heracross, even Adamant, doesn't have any way to 2-hit KO physically defensive Altaria, and I threaten it with potential OHKO in return, depending on his bulk investment. And of course, if he's not bulky, I'll outspeed him, I can turn KO him that way. So I have Hyper Voice and Flamethrower being a more special variant this week, seeing as he has things like Alomomola, which would like to be more than likely physically defensive, and it also gets around Gliscor, which his defense is higher. And I still do threaten that Jirachi, which can switch in, but Flamethrower is still going to do at least some damage, even if he's specially defensive. And obviously he has that chance to burn. Haze is there to negate his potential stat passing, and particularly into Mega Heracross, which if it gets to +2/+2, Altaria still eats any hit he wants to go for, and obviously I can haze him, and then either Roost if I'm outspeeding in the second turn, I can switch into Mandibuzz potentially, which I have also brought, or I can just sack this off and let something else revenge kill it in the following turn. I've also got Roost for longevity, and as I say, I'm fully physically defensive this week. So moving on to Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz is one of my favourites, as you all know, and it has another fantastic matchup this week, being that it's typing and stats, and able to really effectively check both Mega Heracross and Hooper Unbound in one mon very well. I don't need to be invested in either defense to really do that. So I've got a very speedy variant this week, which is able to outspeed even a max speed Mega Heracross, and I can one-shot when it KO the Heracross in return with a Brave Bird with just the 44 investment I have here. And well, it's a 75-80% roll, but he can't one-shot me anyway. And then Foul Play hits the rest of Flo's team very hard, including a Hooper, even if it's specially offensively, which is really good. Hooper can't actually turret KO, or it can turret KO, I think, depending on its set, but it doesn't. It's not able to beat Mandibuzz 1v1 really very effectively, and even if he's a special set with no attack investment at all, Foul Play still guarantees a turret KO. So yeah, Mandibuzz is a fantastic matchup. Roost, obviously there for longevity, and Whirlwind, it's able to, being I threaten things like the Blaziken, which he has used in week 1 to baton pass against Berry, sorry. I can Whirlwind out, because he'd like to baton pass out. He wouldn't want to take a Brave Bird from Mandibuzz, and I can phase out the Mon that he wants to switch into, and Brave Bird actually nabs me a KO on the Blaziken anyway, which he may not expect depending on his investment. Blaziken, even if it's Adamant Life Orb with Stone Edge, can't one-shot Mandibuzz. I think it does about 65%, maybe 70%. And from there, after Life Orb recoil, Brave Bird guarantees a kill. So yeah, Miltank is designed to check his offense, and he actually beats it offensively, which is kind of fun actually. I like that. So third one this week is Miltank. So with the threat of the Wobbuffet potentially, I don't want him coming in and trapping me, because this is one of my... It's essentially going to allow him to go into his Blaziken, and it's going to allow him to get free setup, either a substitute, either a Swords Dance, and I don't want that. So I want to be able to set up the Stealth Rocks against him. I want to let him encore me, and then on his switch out I can double out as well, and potentially get a good matchup for that. So I got the Shed Shell this week, and we're running a fully specially defensive set. This is there to guarantee that the Alola Ninetales cannot set up an Aurora Veil against me and allow his team to set up very effectively. I can switch this thing in very easily on the Ninetales, being able to take any hit it wants to go for, being fully Spadef and Thick Fat. And I'm able to break his Aurora Veil with the Brick Break immediately. So that's going to give me it's going to give me good support for the team essentially. Milk Drink is obviously there for reliable recovery, and I also have Body Slam, which is a good stab option. Obviously with that 30% chance to paralyze as well, which would be nice, especially against things like Jirachi, which he may like to switch in. It's also my Stealth Rocker, as it has been a couple of times this season, and that's because we do not actually have another Stealth Rocker on the team, leaving Celebi and Cavalion behind. So yeah, I don't think this is going to have a particularly large role this week. It can also check a special variant of Hooper potentially. Obviously I don't really want to take a Focus Blast, but I can take Psychics if I have to. So yeah, Miltank's got a fairly, I would say more of a niche role I guess, but hopefully it will work out for us. Moving on to the main offensive threat this week, which is the Moltres, which has a fantastic matchup. As I've already mentioned here, it doesn't have a flying resistor side of Jirachi. So with the speed investment I have, it brings me to 286, which outspeeds the Hooper Unbound guaranteed. So I'm always going to be able to outspeed that and fire up a U-turn, unless of course he's Choice Scarfed. Flamethrower and Air Slash, perfect coverage against this team. The only real threat to it is the Snorlax, which is why we do have that Virizion at the end there, but we'll get onto that in a moment. So the idea of Moltres is to break his team. He doesn't match up well against Moltres at all, and with the Tailwind we can use that against the Blaziken, predict its Protect, for him to want to baton pass potentially the following turn, and then we actually get to fire for big Air Slash, and as I say, without any resist aside Jirachi, he doesn't really want to switch into that. And we do threaten his whole team. We can potentially flinch, we can burn with the flamethrower, so it gives us plenty of opportunities to really play around and absolutely threaten his team. Expert Belt is there to just do a little bit extra damage. Possibly not the best option, Z may be better, but this is what we've gone for this week. We've had to forego Roost this week, unfortunately, to make space for the Tailwind, so hopefully that works out for us and we aren't going to regret that. Moving on to our fifth member, which is Tails the Ambipom. So Ambipom, I had at least 2 sets worth of ideas for Ambipom this week, with plenty of support options like the Switcheroo, the Taunt, and also gets ice coverage either with Technician Hidden Power Ice, which was one thing I put on there, or even with the Ice Punch, which they do about the same amount of damage depending on his investment. So this set is designed to break his offense with U-Turn and Aerial Ace being mainly the Hooper and the Heracross, which I do expect both to come. And then I have Knockoff and Tail Slap, which are really there to threaten the defensive mons on his team, which really don't want to lose their item. Gliscor, before it's had a chance to get its Toxic Orb activated. Alomomola doesn't want to lose its potential leftovers or maybe even the Rocky Helmet. And then Tangrowth, it has things like the leftovers Assault Vest. Again, doesn't really want to lose that. So, and then Tail Slap provides really solid damage with Technician boost as well, meaning we're always going to be doing some reasonable damage against both of them, and we can threaten him in that regard. So yeah, that's Ambipom's main job this week. Technician is the skill link, so the Aerial Ace can knock out the Heracross. Should he be a max HP variant, and again, if I was originally running HP Ice on here, but it's mix and match. It has a lot of options, and this is what I decided to go with in the end. So as you saw at the start, my final one is in fact the Virizion, and it is a sub-Sword Stance set this week. And this is mainly here to be my reliable check to the Snorlax. This is the only one on my team which is able to hit it for super effective damage, and this is going to be my main way of beating it. I'm not particularly overjoyed about that, but that's what I have at the time. Or at this time, so with this set though, I'm in a very good place for subbing up on his defensive mons, potentially the Tangrowth, depending on his set. Although if he has things like Sludge Bomb, HP Flying, I might get Aerial Ace, I'm not sure on that though. Then we probably won't be able to set up on that particularly. Particularly we want a substitute at the very least. But we can set up a sub on Gliscor, assuming he doesn't have that flying or poison coverage, which I don't think he will. And we'll be able to set up a substitute very easily on Alomomola as well, and get a Sword Stance up. So I've been playing around with the 2 offensive moves that I was going to partner with this sub-Sword Stance, and I've reached the conclusion of Close Combat plus Leaf Blade. So dual stab, and it hits his team very, very effectively, with an exception of that Heracross. But with the flying support on Moltres, Mandibuzz, Hyper Voice on Altari, and Aerial Ace on Ambipom, even if the Heracross is alive, I wouldn't be hugely concerned about it, seeing as I have so many things which outspeed it and one-shot it. So I've decided to go with this instead, and hopefully that's not going to end up biting me. So this is the team I have made for this week. Make sure you put your comments on the team in the comment section below, and let me know who you think, or how you think it's going to get on, I guess. So how you think it's going to get on during the game. So without any further ado, let the battle between Flo and I commence. Okay, so we are now in the post-match battle with Flo, and as you can see, he's decided to bring his Jirachi, Alomomola, Mega Heracross, Hooper Unbound, Gliscor and Blaziken. So nothing too surprising there. And the only thing I would say is he hasn't decided to bring his Regenerator Core, but he has brought the 2 mons I was particularly concerned about, being the Alomomola and the Gliscor. But I think with the team we have, we should be able to threaten him enough with the damage we have, particularly with Moltres, as he still does not switch into that at all. and really put some pressure on him that way. So let's dive into it. So going to lead off with our Moltres straight off the bat, as he actually leads off with the Blaziken. So immediately going to predict the Protect, not expect him to go for a Stone Edge straight off the bat because he likely doesn't outspeed me. So I'm going to just go for that Tailwind, which is immediately going to put Flo in a predicament because he does not know what I'm going to go for. Obviously I know what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go straight for the Air Slash, being that he does not have a switch in aside from that Jirachi. So I think he's going to get his speed boost here, and I think he's probably going to go for a Baton Pass, but this Air Slash, being Expert Belt boosted, is able to one-shot his Blaziken. So there's late game sweepers gone straight off the bat. He then makes a questionable opinion in my play, my books, is to go hard into his Hooper, because I don't know if he just doesn't realise that we get U-turn, or whether he's trying to bait the U-turn, but he does double into Gliscor. Obviously was deciding to bait that U-turn, which we're going to go for, and that gives us an opportunity to go into Royal Terrier. So I'm not expecting him to stay in here because we do have the potential to run the Ice Beam, so I'm going to double back into my Moltres here, as he's going to go hard into his Jirachi, which he's now shown to be a switch in. Our Tailwind's going to peter out. We're just going for a Flamethrower, and from that we can see he's pretty specially defensive. Here, Flo, unfortunately for him, misses that Thunder Wave, which would put me in a place where his team would be able to outspeed me. It's going to also mean that that Jirachi is going to faint next turn, assuming I go for another Flamethrower, which, spoilers, I do. It also means I have the opportunity to predict him to go into his Alomomola, which I can then go for an Air Slash. And it's really going to start putting some pressure on from here, because he's not going to be able to get much in the way of free turns, with the opportunity for flinches potentially with the Air Slash. We also see this as leftovers Jirachi. But we're going to go for a Flamethrower here, and we're actually going to get the burn as well, so we can see he's physically defensive Alomomola from that damage, because we did quite a lot with that. And this Air Slash does huge amounts of damage, and we get the flinch. So Moltres is putting in some really, really painful work, and the hacks we took in the first couple of games is starting to bounce back in our favour this week. So going to go for a Flamethrower, predicting him to switch out. He's just going to go to his Hooper, and he's going to double out into his Alomomola, which is a good play on his part, predicting the U-turn. He's going to get a bit of Rocky Helmet chip, and we just get to go freely into our Virizion, so we can easily sub up on Alomomola and get a Swords Dance off. As he is going to go hard into his Gliscor, and we are going to get a little bit of leftovers recovery, and he's going to go straight for a U-turn as we go for a Swords Dance. So Virizion's now in a fantastic place with a sub up, and his whole team is now threatened by this. Heracross is going to take big damage still. So he's just going to Mega Evolve, and this is a daft part inside of me forgetting the skill link. We're going to get a Leaf Blade, going to get a crit, going to do about 45%. And this Pin Missile is going to do huge amounts of damage to us. We do live it from that leftovers recovery, and we're able to fire off a close combat here, which is going to dent something on his team. Looking back, I should have probably gone for a Leaf Blade, potentially catching the Alomomola, which would be a good switch in, as I've seen Rocky Helmet. But close combat's put him in range of a Flamethrower, which is really good because it means that's what I can go for here. That's exactly what I do, and we do big damage to this Gliscor. Depending on its set, that was low roll. I mean, the next one does a lot more. They're just going to force him into the recovering option. But with our Virizion gone, we might actually struggle to be able to break his defensives. So it's a bit of an oversight on my part. Go for the Air Slash there, try and get a flinch, as he goes for a Toxic, and he lands a Toxic. So this is where it's good for him to miss that Thunder Wave earlier. But we're going for an Air Slash here, no reason not to. He's going to go Jirachi. At this point I have no reason to predict. Flamethrower into Air Slash guarantees a kill anyway. And actually double Flamethrower also guarantees a kill. So just going for another Flamethrower here and catch the Jirachi upon switching. I like the idea of him mixing around with his sets, because he didn't have anything else he could really risk, apart from potentially that Hooper, which he obviously wanted to keep healthy. Could be a Life Orb or something, I guess. he's going to go into his Alomomola, and we're going to predict and go for protect. We're going to go hard into our mill tank here, which works out, which is going to give us an opportunity to get up our stealth rocks and chip away at the rest of his team, which is what we're going to go for. And he's going to go for a wish here, which I kind of forgot about throughout this game. I kind of, because I've had so much offensive pressure and the luck I've been getting, it's put him under too much pressure at the moment. So I'm going to go hard into Ambipom here, predicting him to either stay in or switch out. Doesn't really matter. He's not, because I outspeed the rest of his team. We get to go straight for a knockoff on the Gliscor, predicting to switch out, because we could have Ice Punch or HP Ice. We're going to catch that Alomomola on the switch in and get rid of its Rocky Helmet, which is huge because we have Tail Slap and we don't really want to be hitting ourselves with that Rocky Helmet. So he goes into his Gliscor here, we catch him on the switch in and we get 5 hits with Tail Slap, which puts him in range of the second Tail Slap, of course. And we are able to claim a knockout on this Gliscor here. So things are looking incredibly peachy for us, and Ambipom is in a really great place. So I was kind of hoping he went into Heracross there and I could catch him with the Aerolace. But now we can threaten this Alomomola, and if we got a high number of rolls again, we could have potentially knocked it out. We only get the 2 this time, but I'm not going to complain because you got the 5 on the Gliscor. So he's going to go for a couple of Wish Protects here, and we're just going to keep firing off Tail Slaps for the time being. Just really threaten the Alomomola and see what happens really. We've got no reason to go for anything else. We're slowly whittling ourselves down with Life Orb, but we are stopping this Alomomola from really recovering anything, which is quite good for us, I have to say. Let's go for another Protect here. We just go for Tail Slap on the Protect, and he's going to be getting slightly whittled down from that burn, so he's not really gaining a lot here. Now, depending on the number of rolls we get, he could potentially gain. We get in the average number of 3 fairly consistently. So we've had a high, we've had a low, and we get in the average mostly, so Tail Slap's being fairly mediocre. We're just going to go hard into our Moltres here. We know he's going to go for Protect because he can't afford not to, and it gives us an opportunity to fire for a big Air Slash. So he knows his Alomomola can take a hit, and we're actually going to go for the Air Slash, and he's going to get another Flinch, which is really, really big. This puts him in a predicament because it means I get a free Flamethrower off here. Arguably, Air Slash could be better, but I do more damage to the hoop potentially with this Flamethrower. So, with only really Hyper Voice on the Altaria to really hit this thing, I don't really want to risk it. I've obviously got Toxic because he was saying how he got flinched earlier was a problem. So it could actually potentially stall out my team. So for me, it was more of a risk going to switch out here than it was to fire for an attacking feint to the Toxic as he goes to Protect. So I'm just going to fire for an attack, predicting him to want to go for a Wish, for him predicting me to switch out, if that makes sense. So I think he's going to think I'm going to switch out, trying to abuse the fact he's going to go for Protect. I'm going to think he's going to go for Wish, so I'm going to attack him and knock him out. So I go for the Flamethrower, he doesn't Protect, and we're actually able to knock out that Alomomola, which was the biggest turn for me, because Mandibuzz guarantees to beat the Heracross and the Hooper, so Mandibuzz is in a fine position to just click Brave Bird and Foul Play. So Mandibuzz is going to clean up, and this was a good game to Flo, and we were able to come out of this game with a nice 4-0 win, with the first win of the season. So it was an unfortunate game for Flo. His luck wasn't really with it, but I think the matchup with Moltres was incredibly good, and I think the way his team was brought, he didn't really seem to have an awful lot that could break through it. It'd be really nice if I was able to get my Altaria Mega Evolved earlier, so I had it switch into the Heracross when I needed it for the Virizion potentially. But we did have Mandibuzz, and Mandibuzz was, as you see, able to clean up at the end there without much of a problem. So I think with the way the team was built and with the way that the match was played, I felt in control the whole time. There wasn't a particularly challenging number of turns there with the way that it unfolded, but good game to Flo. and I hope his luck eventually, or within the next couple of games, bounces back and makes up for the fairly rough time that he had here. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Make sure you leave a like and a comment down below on how you thought the battle was, and check out the UCC for other more UCC battles and content, and obviously the UCC Weekly. So thank you very much for watching.